Hello. Okay, apologies for the volume. I think the sound should be fine now, I believe. Okay, let me back up and take some of the things I've said once more. You have these technical glitches. Thank you for giving me that feedback. Um, all right, so today we are on leadership in 30 minutes. It's leadership. All right. Sorry, I've been quite disoriented there. So this is Leadership Monday. Leadership Monday. My name is Olatunji Shubodu, Emed Leadership Academy. And I believe that the sound is okay now. Thank you, Ma, for drawing my attention to that. I wasn't quite aware of that technical glitch. But very quickly, today, I'm speaking on the subject ways, not acts, and why you are not like other leaders, why you should not be like other leaders. So I'm going to provoke a thought in your mind about what could be the problem with you not making the kind of impact that is expected of a leader. And I want to look at that from the distinction between ways and acts, from the distinction between ways and acts. And it's important that we pay attention to this. When you look at Psalm 103, verse 7, what you would find is David saying, he said, he, talking about God, talking about the leader, makes his ways known to Moses. Moses, who was the leader that he sent to the people, and his acts he made known to the children of Israel. Now, what is it about that statement? What is clear from that statement is that there is a distinction between acts and ways. The acts are the preoccupation of followers, of those who are immature. The ways are the focus of the leader. The leader pays attention to developing capacity by knowing ways, not by preoccupying with acts. Babies, the immature followers, are excited by acts. They see results. They are the ones that get excited about results, seldom paying attention to how the results were obtained, to how the results were obtained. And that's a big difference between the one who knows to do leadership right and the one who is observing another who is doing leadership right. All right, people tend to get carried away by the product and they don't pay enough attention to how the product was obtained. People get carried away with the what without paying attention to the why. Because behind every what that is worthwhile, there is a why. Behind every what, there is a why. It is ways that lead to acts. When you say 2 plus 2, we know it's equal to 4. All right, 4 gets some people excited, but others are asking, how did we produce 2 plus 2? I mean, 4 by adding 2 plus 2. The 2 plus 2 talks about the why. behind 4, which is the what. You want to produce 4 consistently at any time that there is a need to do that. You need to understand and be in command of the why. That is the principle underlying or motivating adding 2 plus 2. Now, this example seems very simple, but I think that it makes the point. And the call is that a leader should not emphasize the acts over the ways. A leader is called to show the acts, but much more to ensure that the people learn the ways. A leader, to be true to his or her calling, to act responsibly in that role, needs to be a commander, to be an authority in the ways, not just in the acts. There is only so far that you would go as a leader if you pay attention to acts instead of paying attention to ways. There is no way to produce the leader in your people by focusing on acts to the neglect of ways. In fact, when you neglect to focus on ways, to explain the how, the why, and the how behind the what, you can't, if you're a good leader, reproduce yourself in your people. You can't reproduce your capabilities and your capacity in your people. No leader can do that by focusing on acts instead of focusing on ways. No follower can reproduce the capabilities, the competence of a leader by focusing on the results that the leader produces without seeking to understand the ways of the leader. Truth is, acts are produced by ways. God did not reveal his ways to children. In Psalm 103 and verse 7, he revealed his acts to children. They can get excited by the acts. They are helped primarily by the acts, but the ways he makes known to the leader. Leadership is a huge responsibility. You need to focus on the ways. You need to operate by focusing on the ways. It is your focus on the ways that makes you authentic. It is your focus on the way that makes you consistent. You know, God said about himself, he said, I am the Lord, I change not. He said, that's why you children of Israel are not consumed. He said, look at that attribute. I am the Lord, I do not change. That's why you children of Israel are not consumed. That's what the declaration that a leader should be comfortable making. Why did he say, look, I am your leader, I don't change? And the reason for that, which is what makes him reliable and dependable, and what you need to do to be reliable, to be dependable as a leader, is he operates by ways, not just by the acts. When you operate by ways, you are holding on, you are committed, you anchor your conduct to principles, And the principles, the operation, the engagement of principles is what puts you in a place to consistently produce the same kind of results. That is, when you operate by principles, you can't change. Every time 2 plus 2 will be 4. Why? Because there's a principle behind it. There is a way that 2 plus 2 exemplifies over and above or that determines the act, the product that is for. And you ought to be in those shoes as well. You ought to be in those shoes as well. Now, it's important. I saw this from Psalm 145 and verse 7 that a leader is expected to be a man and a woman of integrity. And what preserves integrity is your commitment to ways. When you have integrity, you are committed, you are righteous, as it were, in your ways, you will be faithful to the acts, or faithful in the acts. All that is saying is very simple and is straightforward, that it is expected of leaders to be faithful. But that faithfulness is seen in the results that the leader produces. But underlying that faithfulness that comes out because your results in the same situation are consistent is your commitment to upholding the ways, a set of ways, a set of principles. Now, principle centered leadership is the strongest basis for doing leadership. It is what guarantees authenticity. It is what makes you walk your talk. It is what projects you before those who follow you as one who is reliable, as one on whom they can depend, as one who will treat issues in a consistent manner given the same circumstances, given the same situation. You are not one to operate by whims and caprices, by emotions. Okay, you are one who, yes, you are emotional, but you operate by principles. You operate by principles. And that's how a leader plays this game safely. That's how a leader comes across as being authentic. All right, as being authentic. So ways lead to acts. It's important that as you lead, you are a commander of ways. You lead by principles. It keeps you steady, it keeps you firm, it makes you dependable, it enhances your ability to secure faith and strong commitment of your people. And to that extent, it helps you to succeed in that role. It helps you to succeed in that role. So when it comes to developing people, which is a call that you have been given to leadership, it involves not just showcasing the ways, but also teaching your people to know the acts. When Paul was saying in 1 Corinthians 11 and verse 1, and this is one way by which we develop our people. He said, imitate me as I also imitate Christ. And it is possible to misinterpret this by suggesting that he was saying focus on the acts instead of try to understand, make sure you understand the ways that produced the acts. To truly imitate is not just to be able to produce the results, is to learn how those results were obtained so that you can produce them on a consistent basis. That is what imitation is about. Leadership development is about imitation. It is that you have a leader in front of you, all right, a leader who gives you the free will to receive, to partake of, every capability that he or she has. All right. Nothing to be shy of. Imitation can have that connotation at times, but it's a powerful, all right, instrument for developing leaders. And for you as a follower, it's a powerful instrument for developing into a credible leader. into a credible leader. Let me express through one or two examples. Uh, you would see the importance of focusing on ways, not just on the acts. Now, there was a situation in Acts 19. Let me start with, okay, uh, um, Matthew 17 and verses 19 to 21. What happened there? Here was an instance when a man came to Jesus with a son who was possessed. And so he had a challenge. He brought that challenge to the followers of Jesus. Notice the followers of Jesus, like the children of men, referred to in Psalm 103 and verse 7. Okay. And the followers couldn't handle it. The followers were humiliated. They could not handle this situation. It would appear that this was a situation that perhaps they had handled in the past. And that was why this man took his son to them. And he must have been aware that they have handled situations like that in the past. But on this occasion, they failed. They failed woefully. In fact, they failed so much that they were embarrassed. And therefore, this man was smart enough to take the son to their leader, to Jesus. All right. So they couldn't handle it. And the man must have thought, well, I guess your capabilities, you are limited in what you can do, after all. And when he came to the master, their master promptly sorted the matter out. Promptly sorted the matter out. All right. He cast out the demon, and that was it. And there was no big deal about the way that he did. And his people were embarrassed. They were shocked. All right. Maybe not surprised, because they knew, well, this was the master. This was who they were following. They trusted in his capabilities. But they were wondering, why was it that they couldn't accomplish the same thing? Why was it that this, was such a simple thing in the hands of their master? What they were obviously missing something they knew. And so after when they were alone with the master, they asked him, Sir, why couldn't we handle that situation? Why was this situation so difficult for us? We were really embarrassed by it. And then he said to them, he said, this kind. Now, he said it doesn't go just by praying. He said, but by fasting. That is, you didn't have the understanding of the way of getting the kind of results that you saw me get. They had seen what he was doing. They had tried to emulate him. And so on occasions, they had succeeded. They focused on the acts. They succeeded. But the weakness of focusing on the acts showed up when a different situation, a more serious situation presented themselves. And because of their limited understanding of the ways of dealing with situations like that, of getting the kind of results, the acts, all right, that they had seen from their master, that they had seen him get in the past, they couldn't reproduce what even they had done before. I mean, how humiliating. It reveals to you the importance of emphasizing ways behind acts. That is wholesome focus if you truly want to develop your people as a leader. You must always ensure that you pay attention to ways. Let them understand the ways. Show them the ways. School them in the ways, so that they are not just taken by the acts. They also come into that level of competence and capability just like you. Just like you. Let's look at a second example. And you find that in Acts 19 and verses 13 to 18. What happened here? You have some funny guys. They call them the sons of Sceva. And these guys, were notorious. What did they do? All right, they had observed Paul, the acts of Paul. They had seen Paul cast out demons. They had seen him perform, a number of miracles. And so they thought that having seen the acts, they can walk in that, sphere as well. And so they went around challenging, people who had possessed, persons or children or loved ones. And so they would go and say something like, and try to cast out those demons and say something like, in the name of Jesus, whom Paul preaches. In the name. They didn't have an understanding. They didn't have a command of what Paul was doing, how Paul was producing those acts. They were preoccupied by the acts and they thought it was a simple thing. And they tried to invoke, all right, or to, as it were, how do we call it? Uh, uh, to misrepresent themselves as people who had an understanding of how to produce the acts, as people who knew the ways. And they were shocked because they fell flat on their faces. And in fact, we understood that they were thoroughly humiliated because the demon replied to them and said, well, Paul, I know, but who are you? All right. Basically saying, Paul understands how to deal with me. Paul understands how to handle situations like this very well. And there is a procedure that he follows. And he has a standing to be able to do that, therefore. But who are you? You are just impersonators. When you focus on acts, when you allow your people to get carried away with the acts, with the results produced under your leadership, you are setting up people who will only be impersonators because they will not possess the understanding of the ways. The ways are infinitely more important than the acts. Knowing ways are infinitely more important than the acts. Why? The ways produce the acts. The ways lead to the acts. The ways lead to the acts. The ways are meant for leaders. The acts are meant to catch the attention of followers. But if you truly want to develop followers as a leader, don't let them stay with being wowed with the acts. Teach them, just like Jesus did, the ways. Teach them the ways. Of course, the disciples learned to ask Jesus, therefore, many times when they observe stuff, when they are together, they asked him, Sir, how do we do this? At the time they said, teach us to pray. Why do you think they said to him, Sir, teach us to pray? Because they saw what he was doing and they understood that this man also had a custom of praying. He would wake up early in the day before anybody has woken up, and he would go to pray. And so they tried to put two and two together, and they said, there is something about this you're praying, sir. Teach us to pray. All right. We want to know how to get some of these results that you get. And we understand that's one of the secrets is, pray. And that's what a leader needs to encourage. Encourage your people to focus on the ways. Yes, they must see the acts. They should enjoy the acts. The act shows that you as a leader, you are worthy of their attention. You are worthy of their following. But you must be quick to call their attention to the ways as what empowers you to produce the acts and to do so consistently. All right. What is judged? I love this. In Ezekiel 18 and verse 30, it says that the ways are judged, not the acts. Of course, that's why many times when we read that God doesn't look at the physical, he looks at what is inside the heart, because in the heart are not the acts. The acts are physical, they can be observed, but in the heart is what produced the acts. So don't blame a man. Don't uh, you know pass judgment on a person based on their actions, on the result of their actions. Be interested in what produced them, what thinking produced them, what 2 plus 2 produced therefore. All right. Until you know that, you can't judge. Until you know that, you can't judge. All right. That's something else that we must bear in mind. That's something else that should point us in the direction of ways, not just the acts. That's what makes the difference in and with true leaders. True leaders use the acts, they get the results, but they don't want their people to be carried away by results. They don't want to be celebrated for the results. They want to bring their people to the place where they also, based on understanding, can produce the results as and when they require. When you are in command of the acts, your leader doesn't need to be around for you to be able to solve problems. And Jesus said something that was very instructive. Out of frustration, in that situation, when he discovered that his people couldn't handle the situation, he said, "How long would I have to be with you? If you keep your people at the level of acts, realize you won't always be with them, and they're going to disappoint when you leave." It's irresponsible leadership that leaves their people with acts and not with the ways behind the acts. True leadership shows the acts, attracts people with the acts, gets them committed, but draws their attention to learning the ways, draws their attention to learning the ways. There's something else that I will talk about, on this subject at a later date, which is the importance, focusing on what is truly important, focusing on what is truly important, not what is superficial. Acts can be superficial. When people look at it, get excited by it, want to be in that situation, but they are not willing to learn how to produce it. They're not willing to learn how to produce it. So you want to bring about the transformation that is required in the people, which is your job as a leader. Learn from Jonah 3 and verse 8. He said, "Turn from your ways if your acts must change." Some people want to change the results that they're producing, but they don't want to change the way that they conduct their business. Your way cannot, your acts, your results can't change without your ways changing. Why? Remember, we said that ways lead to acts. If it is true that ways lead to acts or ways produce acts, then you want to change your acts, you want to change the result that you get, you have to concentrate on changing your ways. You have to discover the ways that will produce the kind of results that you desire. You have to focus on the ways that produce the kind of results that you desire. I do hope that this has been of benefit to you today. Once again, I apologize for the initial technical hitch. I will try and sort this out, in my YouTube video of this and edit the part where there was no sound. And I want to thank you again for drawing my attention to that. But we have been speaking today on ways, not acts, but precisely on uh, why your leadership is not different, or why you are like other leaders, or why you are not like other leaders, depending on the perspective from which you want to look at our subject today. But the bottom line is this: you must understand that there is a difference between the acts and the ways. You must understand that ways produce acts. Behind every result, there is a know how. Behind every what, there is a why and how. All right. Behind every what, there is a why and how. And it's important to teach your people the why and how, and don't allow them to get carried away with the what. If they get carried away with the what, you have not produced successors. They're going to disgrace you. You have not succeeded in your leadership role. You can't expect them to produce results like you produce, let alone to produce greater results as they should produce if you have done your job very well. All right. You must let them understand the difference between ways and acts. Let them understand that the acts are great, but they are just an end. There's a means to the end, and that means is very important. Let them understand that if they want to be authentic, they have to operate in this manner. Let them understand that if they must experience a change in their results, they must effect a change in their ways. Let them understand that the reason that they seem to be incapable of handling certain situations, as basic as they are, just like the disciples of Jesus, is because they have no understanding or insufficient or inadequate understanding of the ways that produce those kinds of results. We can go on, but I think you've had enough of me and on this subject this morning. But it's so profound, and I hope that it helps you to do leadership right this week and beyond. And that's your nugget for today. I want to thank you once again for joining me on the broadcast today. It's always great um, coming to you and sharing these nuggets. Make it a date on Thursday, same time, 11 a.m. West African time, is Leadership in 30 Minutes. Hopefully, we'll have more time to deal with yet another important aspect that empowers you to do leadership right. My name remains Olatunji Shobodu. I'm your anchor, and it's been Leadership Monday, and it comes to you from Emet Leadership Academy. If you have not subscribed to my channel, my YouTube channel, go ahead and hit the subscribe button and share this link of this video with others. There are many more videos looking at different aspects of leadership from a biblical perspective in my channel, and I want to encourage you to please check them out. And if you are in need of counsel, of coaching, of mentoring in the area of leadership, I believe I'm in a position to help you. Reach out and we'll see what we can do together. I want to encourage you also. I'll be starting a new initiative, releasing a newsletter for those who have value, for vital insights in the area of leadership. to subscribe to and join that community. So I would announce that on Thursday by the grace of God, and you would find a link. If you join the community, you come among, the community of those who want to focus on authentic leadership and who want to continue to develop their capabilities on the go. There's a lot of interesting things coming up, and I hope that you would be a part of it. I'd like for you to be a part of it. Like I say, the world is in a leadership deficit. The quality of leadership that we need is not available. We're acutely in need of leadership in all areas of our lives. But interestingly, many of us are looking to others to come and fill that gap and not looking to ourselves, forgetting that each one of us at our various levels were called and we have a responsibility to provide quality leadership. If you play your part and I play my part at our different levels, the leadership deficit that we face in the world will begin to recede. That's how to get it done. That's why it's important for you and I to continue to build ourselves up in terms of how our capacity and our competence to offer quality leadership, to offer quality leadership. That's our commitment at Emet Leadership Academy. That's my commitment. That's what, I've been called to do at this point in my life after 30 years plus of engagement in the corporate setting, in the secular, and also in the church. And it's something that I'm very glad to do. And I also thank you for commenting, on the channel. I look forward to more of it. Please comment also on my YouTube channel and through any channel that you are listening, through which you're listening to this. It could be on Facebook, it could be on what else? Twitter, it could be, even on the Facebook page of Emet Leadership Academy. Those are the various channels, and it could be on LinkedIn, by the way. Whichever way, it's great. Love to see you again and again, and please share with others. And I'll be announcing, the newsletter coming up shortly, and some other programs. But keep a date with me on Thursday. A number of things that I'll be bringing your way. It's been great, coming to you this morning, and I hope it has been, as always, a worthwhile time listening to what I have to say. God bless you, and have a very wonderful week. The best week so far. Bye-bye.